in our quest to improve the healthier and longer years of our life and productive years of our life, I thought we would discuss some items that we probably hear about all the time. Do we really know the why relative to nutrition? I'll give you an example, ginkgo. We might hear about it. Garlic. We often use it, to flavor our foods, but do we know all of its health benefits? I thought we would just spend a little bit of time in discussing the things that sound very common and things that we know that we should use, but sometimes if we know the why, then we would be more encouraged to use those things. Relative to nutrition, what is nutrition really? It's a science of food as it relates to optimal health and performance. We'd be vitally interested in protecting our own health, wouldn't we? If we could share it as well with others, would be also good. Scratch all that. Let's continue our discussion on some of the things that we can do that would improve the productive years of our life. We've talked about some things relative to different nutrients, various formulations that we could use, the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the thoughts we think. So let's talk about basic nutrition. I'd like to share some thoughts with you relative to nutrients that we maybe hear a lot about, but do we really know their value? Do we know how they work nutritionally in the body? And sometimes knowing that, we would be more encouraged to use such things as garlic, for example, rather than just to make things taste better. Along those lines, basically, what is nutrition? It's a science of food as it relates to optimal health, and to be vitally interested in how it affects us at the cellular level. I should even go all the way down into the cell, into the mitochondria, which is the spark plug of the cell, which gives it its energy to just keep rejuvenating and keeping us alive longer, feeling better, healthier. So let's talk about some of those things nutritionally. It's interesting that I'm noticing that more and more we're seeing that technology has given us a massive knowledge about our diet, about the foods that we can use for our health. I've really been enjoying that and noticing showing up in every aspect of, it's even on the news all the time. I just enjoy that people around us are looking more things we can do food-wise, nutrition, supplements to help us live that longer, healthier, and more productive life. If we just take a look at all those things we mentioned, the air, it's so contaminated, it's toxic. The air that we breathe, it has, exhaust and chemicals in it. What about the water we're drinking? It's polluted with toxic waste. Our planet is filled with so many toxins. I was reading recently that even our rain is acid rain. So I would imagine also that it's different in different places of the world. Point is that we're living in a very toxic environment most of the time. So let's take a look at some things that are around us all the time that if we understand their value nutritionally, we might tend to use them more to help improve our life. So let's just take one that you've probably heard a lot about and maybe don't know a lot about it. It's called ginkgo. Why do people want to use ginkgo? Well, if you want to boost your mental energy, and if you want to feel can I just say, more alive than you have in a long time? Ginkgo might be your answer. Most people, when they think of ginkgo, if they know anything about nutritional foods, the first thing they'll come up with is memory. Well, guess what? It seems that more and more we hear about people having dementia, Alzheimer's, so much more frequently now than we did many years ago. Of course, I'm older than probably some of you, and you might not remember that far back, but it was uncommon to hear of Alzheimer's disease many years ago. It's becoming very common now. So with things like ginkgo, we find that that's a good herb to use to help prevent such things as dementia. Let's see, what else can we do with ginkgo? Great for your circulation, not just in the brain, but even the opposite end of the body, your legs. It can improve short-term memory. It can help if you tend to get dizzy or have vertigo, ringing in the ears. So many people complain about that. It's good for improving your energy levels. Interestingly, one of the things that I really enjoy talking about is one of the biggest things we're all dealing with is stress. Guess what? Ginkgo is also very good for calming the feeling of anxiety in the body. It's been proven to help with, sometimes you feel like your brain just is scrambled. It helps in that area. It's a really great brain food. And talking about brain, that's up in the head, yes, it's also good for hearing. It's also good for vision. So let's not overlook that happy little herb that has so many benefits. Why does it benefit in so many ways? What is it about ginkgo that's causing all of these benefits? Well, for one thing, the improved oxygen and in the circulation of the cells, because it goes directly into the mitochondria of the cell. Another really great thing about ginkgo is it tends to be and has a record in history, and research shows that it can be a clot blocker. So sometimes we are concerned about things like that. It interferes with the platelet activating factor, which you may know occurs when you have a stroke. It's also perhaps for brain injury, and it helps to prevent the damage from all of those things. So at the cellular level, ginkgo also is an antioxidant. We talk a lot about autoimmune diseases today, and we know that the underlying cause of autoimmune disease is inflammation. Well, guess what? Ginkgo is also an anti-inflammatory nutrient, so another reason to use it. I know we have to be careful and make sure that, when we talk about things, doing this and that nutritionally, I only like to reference things that studies and research have documented these things, but it's a super cardiovascular nutrient. And some of the degenerative diseases that we deal with, this ginkgo is a beauty for helping those things. Have you ever heard about vitamin E? Probably more than most vitamins. Let's talk a little bit about vitamin E and why is it so good to add to our diet. It's another one of those essential products that we could call a heart-healthy nutrient. If you're concerned about, maybe genetically or your lifestyle, and notice that you're starting to have some issues with your circulation, you might want to add vitamin E to your diet. Many physicians say that it's basically impossible to get all the vitamin E that the body would love to have just in their diets. And I think that makes sense considering the diets that most people are eating. So if we take a look at the many who doctors and everybody, nutritionists recommending vitamin E, and it's not only for heart health, but it's also for things like many women deal with, which is fibrocystic breast disease, PMS. What about high blood pressure? I don't think I've ever seen so many people using blood pressure medication now as now, and here we go. Vitamin E can maybe help to reduce the need for taking blood pressure medication. Another good one, it's great to help dissolve blood clots. Actually, vitamin E it just has so many benefits. You could probably talk to 100 people and get 100 different benefits of their use of vitamin E. One of the reasons is because it's also an antioxidant nutrient, which is assisting in reducing cellular aging. So it's so good that some people even call it the everything vitamin. It's good enough that you could use it for everything. It's certainly not going to hurt because it helps to stabilize so many cells in the body and keep them from degenerating as quickly. So it's not just for the heart and the skin. It's also good for muscles. It's good for your eyes. And it's good for your arteries. Here's another benefit, and we could combine vitamin C along with this, that they're natural chelators. What is a chelator? Well, a chelator is something that helps to remove toxins out of the vascular system. And by the way, this is also good for good kidney health. I like to call it Super E. Why in the world would we call it Super E? We can talk about vitamin E as a nutrient, but wouldn't it also be good to know which nutrients or which foods are very high in vitamin E so that we make sure we include those in our diets? There are things like sunflower seed, sesame seed, things that we use to, just put on our foods that we don't think about them as a nutrient. They could just be a seasoning. So grapeseed is another one of those seeds that we use for flavorings. Alfalfa, so many things vitamin E is in that we can be using, adding to our diets. So it's good for the heart, it's good for the brain, it's good for the immune system, which we're finding more and more issues with. So let's be sure to consider adding vitamin E to our diets. And I just want to briefly mention another one that is used so frequently as a flavoring in our foods, but we might want to consider to add more in the way of a supplement because of all the benefits that this little nutrient has, and it's called garlic. Garlic is just a superfood as well. What do you know about garlic? I've asked that question so many times, and I can't tell you what so many people have said. They can tell when somebody's eating it because they can smell it. Well, I'd have to tell you, you can get garlic supplements that don't leave the odors, but I want to make sure I get the pure stuff, so that's okay. But it has been used probably more than any other single nutrient in the entire world for health. And no matter where in the world you would go, people would be using garlic. And it probably has more therapeutic benefits in more cultures than any other known herb. Of course, being used as much as it is, it has been studied tremendously as well. And garlic supports, again, the cardiovascular system. I frequently reference things that support the cardiovascular system, mostly because it is the leading cause of health degeneration. By far, as I have mentioned, if you've heard me before, even more than the next two leading causes of health degeneration, which are cancer and accidents. So those combined don't equal what the first cause of poor health, which is cardiovascular disease. So obviously that one can be pretty serious. We want to do whatever we can to avoid that. And garlic is your friend. So might not like the smell of it, but it sure does taste good, and the health benefits are totally, unbelievably amazing. So maybe just add it to your foods for seasoning, but supplement with garlic. It would be a powerhouse for your whole body.